Hello, all. I'm Jesse Lopez, a Square product marketer here at Square. I want to start this call by acknowledging the times that we're facing, right? So, communities around the world are facing unique challenges right now. And for business owners, the stakes are particularly high. We know that many of you guys are facing many challenges. And the purpose of this town hall is to help you guide yourself and your business through these difficult times. So as we start our conversation today, I wanted to share that SquareUp.com, and again, let me repeat that, SquareUp.com has a dedicated resource hub with many useful tips and guidance for small businesses around the US. I'll share this link again at the end of this call, but I want to make sure that I highlight that we're here to help you. So whatever we can do to help you, please let us know through our channels. And in spirit of that connection, today in this town hall, I'm super grateful to have 5 amazing speakers who have joined us from across the US. And a quick favor that I would love to ask the speakers today is, as I go and introduce you, could you actually wave at the camera to make sure that people get to know you online? So let me kick off with Genevieve Weeks. Genevieve, she's the founder of Tutu School. And then also joining the call is Keith Miller, the founder of Bubbly Paws. Hi, Keith. We also have Lydia Patton, an event specialist and digital marketer of Flowers by Jerry. Hi, Lydia. We also have Sophia Chang, an illustrator and designer. Hi, Sophia. And then finally, we have Adam Block, the CEO of Breezeworks, a Square partner. And before I kick off with some questions, let me just give you a little bit of a background or a little bit of a PSA. I'm at my home. So the bad thing about being at home is that it's unpredictable. So you might hear some noises from the city. You also might hear my dog barking. And I also have a couple of cue cards. And again, normally I would know your names already, but I want to make sure that I don't mess up your names as I ask you some questions. So with that said, let's get rolling. So Genevieve, founder of Tutu School. So Genevieve, thank you again for joining us today.
Yeah.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about Tutu School?
Absolutely. So we are a collection of boutique ballet schools for very young children. So we start working with kids as young as 18 months and then go up to 8 years old. So we just focus on that very narrow window and providing a magical introduction to ballet for kids. We have just over 40 locations that are open or opening in the US and Canada. So I'm both the founder and own several of those, a trio of those myself, those brick and mortar stores. And then I'm also a franchisor, which means that I help other Tutu School owners launch their businesses and run them all over the country.
Amazing. I know many parents that currently are looking for dancing classes for their kids. So quick question. I know with the spread of COVID-19, you've been looking at changing your business model to actually stream your classes via online. Could you tell me a bit about that process, how you made the decision, and then how it's going?
Yeah, so we realized pretty quickly that we were going to need to do something. We hoped that the closure and some of these stay-in-place orders would be of a short duration, but we knew even with that, we wanted to make sure there wasn't an interruption to classes for students. And then now that it's become clear that a lot of our schools are going to need to be closed for a longer period of time, we're really glad that we did that. So we switched to streaming classes, and we're still allowing our families to accrue makeup classes for the time that they're missing in the studio, so that they really don't feel like they're losing out on any of their tuition dollars. But all of our teachers, even if they're in places where they have to shelter in place, are streaming classes even from their homes to our students who are stuck at home. And so it's obviously allowed us to keep some revenue coming in terms of continuing those memberships. But really importantly, we also feel like we're providing some continuity to our families and their kids in a challenging and uncertain time.
That sounds amazing. Quick question for you. So what platform are you currently using to stream? And then how did you do that decision? And then how is that going?
Yeah, so we're using Whereby, which I think is a little bit of a lesser known streaming platform. We really like it. I know I feel like the entire world is on Zoom, but we really like Whereby because we have a lot more options, we feel like, for branding. It just felt like a nice fit with our brand, and it's going well. We're already using it for internal training, for training our owners and teachers. So it was a natural choice for us.
In terms of your general clientele, how many parents are you seeing adopting this new solution for their kids?
We've been really thrilled that we've been able to retain most of our members. We still have seen some attrition. Unfortunately, a lot of that is due to just families' financial situations changing. And so, with that, we're trying to work with them and see if there's anything we can do to assist them so we can keep their kids dancing and engaged. But most families have really embraced it and really appreciate it. It can be tricky with some of the littlest ones because their attention spans are shorter. But most people have been really grateful that we're trying to do something and that we're helping them keep their little ones engaged and active when they're getting pretty stir crazy at home.
And last question, I promise, before moving to the next speaker. How did you communicate that change? Because I wonder that a lot of businesses are currently thinking about that. How do you communicate that you're changing your business model?
I think that the messaging has actually been the most important part. I mean, obviously the service itself is truly the most important part, but I think the messaging was a close second. So we have had a lot of emails going out. Our email client is Constant Contact, but I know other people love MailChimp, and some of our owners use that as well. And so we were just in constant communication with them. And as the situation evolved, when we had to extend closures and continue our streaming, we've just been providing a ton of communication. And I think really paying attention to our tone too. Asking them to stick with us, really asking them to stay in this together with us, but then letting them know we really mean that from both ends, that we're not just asking them to continue to be clients of ours, but that we want to be of service to them, and that we're going to do everything we can to stick with them too. And so it's also meant a fair amount of transparency and honesty as we figure out things about streaming too, that then we'll email them back and we'll say, here are some new tips and tricks we've learned. Here are some things that we can try to make this process go even more smoothly.
And that's very consistent with what we're hearing from our sellers as well. It's a tough time, so it's being able to pivot and being able to listen to your customer and adjust as you go. So super helpful, Genevieve. I think next in line is Keith. I think you're based in Minnesota, correct, Keith?
Yes, we own Bubbly Paws. We have 4 stores in the Minneapolis area, and wow, we've been hit hard. But I think a lot of it, we just try to flow with it. We're a self-service dog wash, and we're also full service dog grooming. So, I mean, talk about human interaction. We're the center of it. And I think we just really needed to adjust. We really need to, scale back. We actually closed our stores about a week ago, and now we're just kind of riding it out.
And then I've heard that you did have to close your stores for dog grooming. However, you're selling gift cards at the moment, correct?
We did. So one thing we want to do, part of our whole business model is to really give back too. So, obviously we're selling gift cards to try to help us out. We're doing it through Square. We're doing, buy a $50 gift card. We're going to give you an extra $5, but we're also doing $5 to a local rescue. And the rescue that we actually picked, we bathe a service dog for the University of Minnesota Hospital, the Children's Hospital. He comes in every week, he gets his little bath, and he's the world's coolest golden. And he's about $1 million dog for the hospital. It's one of 4 in the country that actually has it. And yeah, so that's where we're donating all of the gift card, the $5 from each gift card goes straight to him.
That makes a lot of sense. And then any other things you're currently considering, as I know you've made a decision to stay close, any other things that you're currently exploring or things that happen on the plate?
A lot of it, yes, we want to take care of our customers, but we also want to take care of our employees. And I think that's really important too, because obviously they're not working. A lot of our groomers work on commission. One thing we did actually, we hopped off a call last week and I was just inspired. I'm like, you know what? You're all getting $15 Bite Squad gift cards. So now you can get food delivered to your house. And that was an instant no-brainer. Let's try to take care of our employees because you know what? In 2 weeks when we open again, we want you back. And I think, a lot of businesses are kind of forgetting some of that. And the more you can do just the little gestures, $15, yes, it's not a lot, but we've got 40 employees. So add that up. And they all were super receptive to it. So they love it.
And then I know that many businesses currently are facing the tough decision to stay close. How did you communicate that to your customers?
We did it in 2 steps. First, we ended up closing our self-service dog wash just because we couldn't keep 6 feet away from everybody. I mean, it wasn't possible the way that we're designed. So we closed that first, and we did that just through Square messaging. We're like, hey, you know what? everybody gets it. You know, you're getting 10,000 of these emails. Everybody's closing. So we tried to really be receptive. But then we kept going with grooming because we did more contactless grooming. So we were using like Square invoices. So rather than checking out on the register and signing, drop your dog off, we'll send you an invoice at the end. And it worked. Now fast forward to when we closed our grooming, we have 275 appointments that we need to move. So again, we use Square messaging for that, just because everything's all in one place, and it really just made it very simple for us to send that stuff. And just our poor general manager, I don't know how she's doing it, but the messaging part was easy.
And I believe you also keep your website updated, yeah?
We do. I mean, the front page of our website, it says exactly what's going on. You know, we also try to do it on like our Instagram and our Facebook too. You know, you call our stores, it's very obvious that we're not open. You know, all of our calls are forwarded, and you know, we try to over communicate without being annoying.
Yeah. Well, it makes total sense. And again, I know how hard it was to probably close, but I also understand the need to protect your employees. So
you know, it's one of those things. We gave them the options too. You know, when it first hit in Minnesota, we're like, hey, if you're not comfortable, stay home. You know, we had one of our employees who's like, every time the door opens, I have a panic attack. I'm like, you shouldn't be here. You know, please don't come in. Like, don't come to work and have a panic attack. You know, just sit at home, just enjoy it. And we've always wanted to take care of them too. So I think that's what really sets it apart, that we really do care about them and want them to be happy.
That makes a lot of sense. So for everyone on the call, bubbly paws.
Yes.
Bubbly paws. Then moving on to Lydia. So Lydia's also from Minnesota. So Lydia, can you share a little bit about Flowers by Jerry?
I can, yes. So we are a physical flower shop that my grandfather, Jerry, actually founded about 52 years ago. So now it's my sister and myself running the shop along with her husband. And I've taken the event side of the business and really ran with that. So I work directly with the brides and corporate clients to work on events. But we still have the retail portion as well. So it's a mix of retail and service.
And I think I heard from a bird that you're also creating like new channels for you. And one of them is Instagram sales. Can you talk to us a little bit more about it?
I totally can. So our retail side of the business has shifted from predominantly walk-in and phone sales to being pretty much all digital. We are able to still take deliveries in town, which is great, but our storefront itself is closed. So customers cannot walk in, they cannot shop, but we are able to deliver orders in town, which is good. So Instagram has really been a game changer. I mean, we've been using it very heavily for about the last year is when we doubled down and decided, all right, we need to do this the right way. So we've already been doing it well. However, the last 2 weeks, we've really been focusing specifically on posting products for sale that we can deliver in town in our stories. And that's been incredible. I mean, our community has been very receptive. I will say, though, that we've been very cognizant of not just bombarding our followers with like, this is for sale and this is for sale. We've been very thoughtful about only posting products that we know people in our community will be grateful for at this time. So for example, we have a gift shop as well in our flower shop, and we have these really awesome fan favorite blankets. We did them 20% off just because we know people are home right now and they need that comfort. Or just like a happy tulip bouquet. Like we offered that on sale because we knew people wanted spring to be welcomed into their homes. So we've been very thoughtful about the products we're marketing.
Yeah.
Because we want them to reach our customers in a heartfelt way and not just a salesy way.
That totally makes sense. And I'll totally be looking to buying a new blanket. I think many of us in our downtime, we watch Netflix. So that's good to hear. Another question I had for you. I know that you've also created some offerings such as, I think I heard creating kits for kids at home. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what would inspire you to do that?
Totally. So again, I mean, I should have mentioned that one before. It just goes back to We've taken, honestly, it's kind of funny. We haven't really had downtime because it's been basically the family running the shop right now, just all hands on deck, keeping the ship afloat. But we have taken time when the workday ends. We go home and we sit together as a family and we imagine, like, we are a community member, but like, what are the people in our community craving and what are they going through and how can we help make their day better, even though it's crazy out there? So one of the other products that we've been featuring are kids planting sets. So for $15, it's a plant, a pot, and all the materials with the instructions, and mom pick them up, and it's really just a fun activity with all these kids at home just to get them involved. And really that's been the focus. Like, how can we make our community members feel supported and appreciated while they are supporting us as a small business?
That's true. I know that I'm talking for other parents, but probably a lot of parents are grateful to you. So you're giving them another option to entertain their kids while they have them at home 24/7. Lastly, I wanted to highlight one thing. So one of the core themes that I've heard that I don't think is talked about in the media that much is the power community. And I heard that you created an Instagram account called, I believe, Small Business Strong.
Yeah.
And a hub to have business connect with each other. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Totally, yes. So our shop Instagram itself is a community platform just for the people in our town, really, who want deliveries and orders and flowers. But really this last week, and when I say we, it's my sister and I, we've just felt increasingly inspired by stories of resilience amongst small business owners, really nationwide, and we've just wanted to share them. So one day when we were at the shop, we just decided to use the extra time that we would normally be devoting to brides and wedding work to launching a new Instagram page called Small Business Strong. And the sole purpose of the page is just to share stories and experiences from small businesses nationwide, not just in Minnesota. I know when we travel, we go out of our way to find local coffee shops and local just experiences because we know that supporting local, it sounds so cheesy, but supporting local is seriously supporting a dream. And we just want to share those stories so that community members can connect with them and recognize the strength in supporting small businesses.
That sounds amazing. And again, for everyone in the call, remember the name Small Business Strong. And thank you for doing that. I think a lot of people, I think we also heard Keith giving away some of his gift card sales to local charities. There's a ton of that. And I hope that we can all talk about it in these channels. So it's a lot of amazing work happening behind closed doors. Then next in line is Sophia from LA. So Sophia, I know that you do a range of many things. I think in my notes, I have a Jill of all trades. Could you walk us a little bit more about your business and how you work with small businesses?
Yeah. So thank you for calling me a Jill of all trades. That's really nice. That's the first time I've heard that. I usually hear like Jane. Usually people use Jane or Jill. So my original background is in illustration and design. So that's really my main bread and butter. I kind of just call myself a skill hoarder. So I just want to learn as many skills as I can. You know, my main kind of ethos that I live by is the classic teach a man how to fish and they'll be able to eat for life. And so I've been a very big advocate of that and try to live by that by learning as many skills as possible. So I'm still doing illustration design as a freelancer and graphic design, everything from branding, working in print. And so I've also taken those skills and built different businesses on top of it. I have a health and wellness publication called Undo Ordinary. We've been doing it for 7 years. We also do live events and activations in New York and Los Angeles. And we also have a biannual print magazine in addition to an online digital platform. I also started a tech platform called Common Ace, which is an online aggregator tool for women to be able to shop for sneakers online. And in addition to that, I'm trying to think what else. There's so much. In addition to like my own personal work, I also do a lot of teaching, workshops, specifically in the small business space. So I've been able to work by myself and work on a number of businesses for the past 10 plus years. And so that's just given me so many different like trial and errors and experiences. And I've kind of problem solved a couple things here and there. And I guess I've always wanted to kind of just give back to that community to be able to support people, specifically small business owners, because we have to wear so many hats, right? All of us here in this room understand if you have your own business, if you have a physical door, if you offer a service, down to taking the time like today to be able to talk about your business, to invoicing, to delegation with your team and so forth. And so I teach in social media and social media branding, and how to essentially kind of separate our personal relationships with tools like Instagram, but actually see it as a tool to be able to propel and better tell stories about your business in digital space, which has been helpful more than ever, right? Given this very digital time we're in. I also teach on kind of business housekeeping, kind of like productivity. How can we get better organized with our internal infrastructure, with communication, whether it's communication with our internal teams, with our customers, kind of like a little Marie Kondoing, but for small business owners. And I also teach for, I guess, people who are in career transitions or students that are graduating school and trying to venture into, starting their own business, whether they're a florist, a nail artist, a photographer, an illustrator. What are the first actionable steps that you can take in order to meet your goals? So, yeah.
And now we know why Sophia is a Joe of all trades. Amazing work. Question I have for you, Sophia. We know that freelancers are probably facing a really extremely difficult time right now. Are there any practical tips that you have for them to drive revenue with their current customer base?
Yeah, I first graduated college right during the recession. So during my internships, I would go into work and see people at their desks, and then literally in 24 hours, their desks would be totally empty. That was a very jarring time, just as soon as you're about to graduate. And so this climate right now feels very familiar, just like many other small business owners and freelancers. I don't know when my next check is coming. But on the bright side, we have time. If you have, first of all, if you have shelter, water, and food, and maybe toilet paper, that's such a great place to start. And that's the reality of it. Everything else is just a cherry and sprinkle and whipped cream on top. And so the reason why I'm really big on honing in on skills is that you can do whatever you want with all this time. You can learn new skills. Some people are recommending reading and some self-care time. But, maybe take this time to explore some different resources that exist out there online. Maybe when quarantine is over, you come back and you go back to your business and you're stronger than ever. You've learned all these new skills that can empower you and strengthen your understanding for you to be a better marketing manager or business owner and so forth. And so that's what I'm very proactive on, whether it's craft related skills for me, whether it's design or, literally today, right after this call, I'm going to take a couple online classes just to browse through, even on YouTube, on marketing, on business management. And I think now is the time more than ever. I know that we're all worried about keeping the lights on. And I know there's certain fires that we have to focus on putting out every single day. But if there is downtime, to take that time to schedule it in, just like how we talk about self-care, finding time for your mental health, for meditation, for stretching. I think in the same way more than ever, now that we're not forced to open the doors every single day and go into our office or go into our businesses, maybe take that time to see what are some areas that we can improve. Maybe take this time to sit with your team to be like, you know what, there were some weird problems. There was weird feedback from customers over time. What are some areas that we can improve moving forward? And this is kind of a blessing in a way for us to be able to finally have some downtime, quiet time to address those things.
Super relevant, and we hear this a ton as well at Square. A lot of people taking the additional time to actually improve themselves, improve their business, optimize their business model. Question for you, do you have any sites that you recommend to hone in on these skills that you would love to do ourselves?
So I'm a little bit biased. I teach online on Skillshare.com. I teach 3 classes, which I kind of mentioned briefly. There are a lot of fantastic instructors on there. They have everything from marketing, more creative skill sets. If you're a small business owner, you can't afford to have a web designer. Maybe take a couple classes on some quick web design skills here and there. I know Square offers web design services. There's also, I mean, this is for me, there's a podcast that I love to listen to. It's called Quick Brain, KWIK. He's a brain coach. He does these online classes on reading and memory, if that's a little something that you want to improve on. I buy all these books off of Amazon, and they a lot of times just collect dust. And so I decided to take his reading class in order to kind of improve on my reading skills. That's another great resource. And he has a great podcast, 15 minutes each episode, everything you need to know about the brain. And for those of you who may or may not know this, but the Ivy League schools actually offers online classes that are free. So you can take literally everything, whether it's on science or survivalism or business or law or accounting. There's a ton of resources out there. I'll see if I can connect with the Square team to share some links, and hopefully we'll be able to share it with our audience today.
Perfect. Thank you, and very much appreciated. Very last question, and it's a question that sparked based on what you were telling us. For the people that are continuing to work as a freelancer, are there any sites that you recommend to find new work?
Yeah, there's a site called Malachi. I know a lot of people post on there. And honestly, here's the thing. We can enter this twilight zone of the internet to see what we can scrape and find in terms of the job market now, or we can actually ask the people around us, people who are small business owners. Someone like myself, you know, I have the skills to be able to help build a website, help make logo branding better. And there are small business owners who are looking to revisit that at this point in time. When I first started, I couldn't afford a lawyer. And so I decided to do like a barter thing with my lawyer, who I still work with to this day. I helped her with her branding, helped her redo her website. And, you know, we're all in this together, right? And what that really means is if you have a skill and you have a business and you have something that you can offer, maybe do a trade with another small business owner who's actually really, you know, who is in dire need of your skills. And whether it's, you know, someone who produces music to someone who has a small business or they have a social channel and so forth, there's so many ways to be able to collaborate with people around you. Maybe it's just creating a set of little merch that you can sell online for people who follow, you know, your brand. There's little things here and there that have very minimal overhead. And so instead of looking for new work, even though that's always encouraged, maybe look around you to see what your community actually needs. And so there's always great collaborative opportunities there.
That makes total sense. And then lastly, but not least, Andrew. Andrew, I know you're currently the CEO of which is one of our Square partners. Can you please share a little bit about your business and then how you integrate with Square?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, Jesse. It's Adam, not Andrew, but that's okay. My orthodontist used to do it all the time. So BreezeWorks is software. We provide a service package for service professionals like plumbers and locksmiths and handymen to run their business on. So it works on both their mobile devices on Android and iOS, as well as has a web version. And so we enable these, you know, professionals who are generally working in the field at somebody's house or at, you know, some other small business to take care of their scheduling, estimating, creating invoices, collecting payments, managing their team, and communicating with their customers. And we've been a Square partner for many years. You asked me earlier and I couldn't remember because it's so far back in time. But our integration with Square allows our user base to use their own Square accounts that they may already have and have them be directly integrated into the BreezeWorks software. So if, for example, they go out into the field and do a job, BreezeWorks will automatically send a follow-up email with the invoice for that work. And then the customer can go online and enter their credit card information and pay for the work that was done at their house. And that's all done directly through the Square account of the vendor. And so all of the, you know, record keeping and so forth that Square offers is available to those BreezeWorks customers, but they're all the work they do is within a single app. So they're not trying to manage, you know, multiple different apps on their devices.
Yeah, no, we hear a lot about it as well. A lot of integrating business in one solution or finding the right ecosystem, right?
Yep.
A question for you, given that you have industry experience, what are some of the trends you've noticed recently in the industry with the rise of COVID-19?
Yeah, so, as you might expect, we are constantly in contact with our service professional vendors, doing customer support, doing outreach to them to, kind of learn how their businesses are going. And so, unsurprisingly, these folks who typically wouldn't think anything of just walking in, to a customer's front door are, experiencing some, I think, real resistance and in some cases, fear, like, Keith referenced, on behalf of their customers. And so, we've heard from them that they've had to kind of very rapidly figure out, for those whose, verticals are still out in the field doing work, very rapidly figure out how to communicate with their customers to, alleviate concerns customers might have about a stranger coming into their house and potentially being in close contact. And so I think, trend-wise, it's 2 weeks, if you can call it a trend, it's really been a lot about this kind of joint navigating this experience for, homeowners or business owners who need some work done, but are really trying to figure out, how do I do that and keep my family safe or keep my employees safe. And for our vendors, they're also thinking about how do they keep their workers safe who are out in the field, constantly interacting with new people, touching new doorknobs or ringing new doorbells. What do they have to do to ensure that they are being responsible to their employee base?
That makes a lot of sense. And then are you hearing anything from your customers around things that they need from you and from your software?
Yeah, I think, we definitely have been able to very quickly get a lot of new ideas into our customer roadmap, as we call it, which is basically, what the future changes and improvements are going to be to the BreezeWorks software. And one example is that, our customers, as we all are using video and video conferencing and peer-to-peer video communications in ways that they weren't, 2 or 3 weeks ago. One example is that, we have customers who have said that they, rather than walking up and ringing a doorbell, they will, call or FaceTime their customer when they're sitting with the truck in the driveway to basically say, hey, how do we do kind of a little micro negotiation here about what the protocol is going to be for me coming into your house? And maybe, can you show me what's wrong with your air conditioner or where the leak is? Can you show that to me using FaceTime or, Google Hangout before I come in? And then you can keep your distance and unlock the door and, I'll know exactly where to go and we won't have to, kind of risk breaking those social distancing norms. And so, one of the things that's not currently in the BreezeWorks software is that kind of I guess you say vendor to customer video communication. But that's something that, right now we're kind of looking at what would it take to integrate that. And if this kind of experience of social distancing and these changes in the kind of vendor customer norms extend for a long period of time, these may be critical features. But we're also finding that, as again, I think, all of us are as business owners, that the assumptions we were making about the way business workflow kind of had to work, maybe need to be rethought. So, for companies that can have 10-person meetings over Google Hangout and find that actually works pretty efficiently, what we're hearing, kind of an equivalent, is that some of our customers who used to drive a half an hour to visit a customer just to do an estimate and kind of look and see what work needed to be done, well, maybe they can, on the one hand, keep social distancing, but on the other hand, save a half an hour of driving plus gas by using, video chat to have the customer hold their phone up to, the leaking pipe or whatever. And they can create an estimate without ever having to go out to the customer site. So I think some of these things, we may back off from as the virus abates, but other stuff I think is going to be kind of permanent changes in workflow, and we're just having to figure out how to incorporate that functionality into BreezeWorks for the future.
That's super interesting, and I think we're also facing similar things around categories are being reframed day by day, and like understanding how you could reinvent yourself in that system is super critical. I hadn't heard an example of what you just described, but it would be amazing that I don't have to wait for someone to show up to my home. I could actually do it on video cam and have them revise my kitchen or my stove. So it's great to hear. Then now I wanted to open it up to questions for the group. And again, thank you all for giving us a walkthrough of your businesses and your lessons during this difficult time. A couple questions. I'll start with this one. Any other examples that you heard from your community of fellow small business owners and how they're adapting to this particularly unique and interesting time that we're facing? Again,
I've been paying close attention to some of my favorite restaurants. I'm originally from New York, so obviously New York is the epicenter of all this. So it's very heartbreaking to kind of get all these GoFundMe's and see what's going on. And so I've been paying attention as far as what local restaurants are doing in order to pivot, even from fancy restaurants, right? So there's this one restaurant in LA that's pretty good, it's called Bestia. And so what they've decided to do was kind of these prefixed menus. And so typically it's kind of a fancier Italian restaurant. You have wine, you're paying a pretty penny for their food. So what they're offering now is prefixes where, it's just a set amount, it's a set number of meals, and you would just go and pick it up and you select online what time you'd like to go. And it's just a set amount and everyone gets a specific pickup time, which has been, a pretty easy way for them to be able to move through inventory. And I think it's a great pivot model for a lot of kind of upscale or just small businesses in the restaurant industry.
And just Sophia, to back you up, I've also seen that trend here in San Francisco. A lot of small business owners are actually providing family meals. So you could actually buy an entire meal for your family. And I know that I'm not a cook, so I struggle with cooking. So I really appreciate having that option. Any other additions from the group on interesting ways that you're seeing small businesses deal with this virus?
Yeah, I think one thing that that we're seeing kind of across a lot of our businesses, but I think this is sort of a meta change, is really the need for transparency. And that I think, it would not surprise me if the small businesses that, and I think, this goes to some of the stuff that, basically everyone, talked about the changes that they were making in terms of the way they communicate with their customers. But I think it's those small businesses that are able to, really have those kind of direct, transparent conversations with their customers. It could be around anything. It could be around what the business needs to stay in business, or it could be, around some of the things I was talking about with regard to safety protocols and how the, customer business relationship needs to evolve. I think that when we're talking about small business, we're talking about community. And I think that community responds to transparency and openness. And so as opposed to like, a particular hack or something that small businesses are doing that we're hearing about, I think a general theme is this one of, having to kind of navigate transparency where maybe, in some of the service professional categories like plumbers and locksmiths is maybe not something that you necessarily thought about in the past. And I think that needs to change, and it's changing.
And that's also aligned with what Genevieve told us, right, about telling your customers what you're currently facing, right? I don't have the full answer, but here's what I know, and this is my plan going forward. I think I saw some other people coming out of mute. Genevieve, why don't you go next?
Yeah, no, I think just to piggyback on what Adam was saying, I completely agree with that. I think that's been so important for us. And again, I think because there are so many GoFundMe's and there's so many nonprofits and organizations in dire need. Again, I think for us, it was really important to make sure that we weren't just saying, help us. We were saying, here's how we're going to be in this with you. And so to kind of pair that level of transparency with, in terms of what we needed from them, which is to stick with us, with here's how we're going to be protecting you when we were still holding on-site classes. Like here are the, the things that Adam was talking about to implement safety procedures. And then now that we've transitioned to streaming, here's how we're still going to be showing up in your lives on a regular basis. So yeah, I do. I think so much of it has been what I've been inspired by as I see small businesses reaching out to the people they serve is the way that they're having those conversations and the way that they're sort of, not moving away from their brand. I think they're still keeping, a strong brand voice, but really introducing a new level of authenticity and honesty to it, which is what I think everyone really responds to in this moment. I don't think people are are listening if you're not, just being frank with them. I think they want to hear that level of honesty and truth in what you're telling them.
And question out of curiosity, Genevieve, how do you listen to customers? I think some people already know that through social channels, but what do you do to have a pulse of your customer?
So that's a great question. So, I mean, we do communicate a ton over email with them. We're in pretty constant contact with both, continual contact with all of the parents that we work with. But we invest a lot of time in social media. So Instagram is big for us. Some on Facebook, given our demographic too. But so we've been trying to really create a lot of additional content too. I mean, I think just sort of personally for my own sanity, but then what I've also felt like was good for our business was to really lean into creating during this time. And so to make sure that we're just showing our families all these different ways we can show up for them. And so that's meant, in addition to the streaming, that we are scheduling live story times, where our teachers will hop on and read a bedtime story that the kids can tune into, where we're having teachers record different craft ideas that we can send out as videos, or to schedule live times where they could do that. We've even had some of our studios where the teachers each pick a different talent that the kids might not have known about. And then they'll, the kids will tune in at a specific time to Instagram stories and have this, this live experience with their teachers that's still a connection to Tutu School and to their experience at Tutu School, but maybe a different side of their teacher they didn't get to see. So we're really trying to find ways. I mean, I think like everybody is, we're apart, but we're trying to find ways to connect. And I just think that's the only way through this.
Super helpful. Anyone else before? I think I have 4 minutes left, so I have one last question, but I want to give an opportunity to everyone if they have a comment to add. No? Lastly, I really wanted to wrap it up, and I feel like this is only the beginning of sharing stories and lessons. And we know that as this continues to evolve, people are looking for advice for their business. So is there any lasting advice that you would love to impart to small business owners that are listening to us today?
I think the one thing that I've really tried to do is disconnect from social media. I mean, that sounds very counterproductive as to what we do in our brand, but I limit myself in the morning. I've got 30 minutes of the news, 30 minutes of social media, and then we're done with that for the day, because I want positivity. I want happy stuff. Of course, every now and then I'll scroll real quick, but I think that really makes a huge difference in just trying to keep yourself sane. And I think if you keep yourself happy, listen to positive podcasts or stuff like that. I think it radiates down to your employees, to your customers, and all that other type of stuff too. Whereas if you're sitting there watching, Fox News for 12 hours a day, you're just going to go crazy.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Any others from the group?
Yeah, just to piggyback off of just to piggyback really quickly of what Keith was saying. I think sometimes just the classic pen and paper is always good. So just scratch paper, writing down your thoughts, writing down your goals, writing down how you're feeling, and you can just throw the paper out or save it. I think it's a great way to just have some time with our personal thoughts, as strange as that sounds. I think unplugging is always great. There's so many great ideas and resources out there, but also a ton of nonsense that can pull up our attention in so many different areas. As much as I'm a fan of productivity apps and all of that, sometimes the classic pen and paper, just to be alone with your thoughts, reorganize those thoughts, structure, and being able to just kind of see it and just have a brain dump, for lack of a better word, is always great to realign and just have some breathing room for yourself.
I think we have Lydia also, right?
Yeah. So I feel like when I'm in my personal time, I've been unplugging. Like I've actually been writing things down and been going through my thoughts and processing. But during the day for work, I've been plugging in more than ever before. And I would say that it's super similar for a lot of just consumers out there. With being stuck at home, people want to connect with you more than ever. And we've been feeling that through our social. So I would say just make it extremely easy for your consumers to connect with you and to even support you as a business. So not only should you be opening up to them through, your Instagram stories, giving them an update about what's new in your business that day, but also just make it super easy for them to then follow through. So if you're providing a new product or a new service during quarantine on your pages, link that, purchase link directly to your Instagram purchase it right away, or tell them to message you with questions. Just make it really easy for your consumers to chat with you and ask you questions and get to know you better, because people want to connect right now. We're all a little bored. We're all going a little stir crazy. So that human connection is possible through social media, and just make it easy for them.
Genevieve?
Yeah, so I would say very practically, everyone, all small business owners should be, I know everyone's super sick of having SBA links mailed to you, emailed to you from every direction, but paying attention to that, as well as all of the funds that were passed in the stimulus. Keep in touch with your banks for the next week or two. By the 11th, there should be good information coming out about being able to apply for some of the CARES stimulus, especially the 7A, or it's called Paycheck Protection Loans. This is unprecedented, and I don't know a small business owner who shouldn't be looking at that, because it's funds that will be forgiven. So again, I'm not a financial advisor, but talk to your banker. That would be my number one practical tip for this unprecedented time. But my second thing would just be, to really lean into your values. I said already to lean into creating. I think that's something that's, really helped me and fueled me in this time. But I also feel like, as a business owner, I Sophia was talking about, we're all thinking about keeping the lights on, but we can't just, succumb to that alone. And I totally agree. That's sort of some of our first instinct is like, how are we going to pay the bills? What, looking ahead at projections, things like that. And I think at the end of the day, the answer is really to think about why we're doing what we're doing. What is your statement of mission and identity? And if you go back to that, that's really inextricably linked to your survival and getting to the other side of this too. So for us, at the end of the day, it was, well, we make space in children's lives for creativity and joy. And that's going to look different for a little while, but making sure that we continue to do that in the best way that we possibly can, even if it's streaming into kids' living rooms for a little while, is also going to be how we keep the lights on and how we get to the other side of this. So I think just really, when things feel overwhelming, really focusing on, who you are as a business and a company, and not letting go of that.
Any other ones from the team?
Yeah, I'm really glad Genevieve mentioned the CARES Act, because I think it is definitely the case that, as a small business owner, managing family and potentially kids at home and your business and having to think about your employees absolutely can be overwhelming. All of this is overwhelming, and we have really no sense of exactly what the future is going to look like, which I think is kind of emotionally, psychologically one of the hardest pieces. At the same time, the federal government passed the largest stimulus ever, and there's critical pieces in there that small business owners absolutely have to be taking advantage of if they want to, ensure they have the best chance at surviving, what is definitely going to be a rough time. And so, Genevieve mentioned the paycheck protection. There's also potentially forgiveness for SBA loans for rent and some other payments in addition to Paycheck for Employees. That tax deferral is a key piece, just not having to worry right now about filing or paying your taxes until July. BreezeWorks has a lot of features for teams, for service professional teams, but we also have a lot of solopreneurs. We have a lot of folks who run their service business, and it's just them. As we know, those folks were not eligible for unemployment previously, but under the CARES Act, there's all sorts of unemployment support for individuals. Educating yourself on this stuff, I think, is going to be absolutely critical to helping people survive and hopefully thrive as quickly as possible after we come out of this. BreezeWorks, for our customers, put together a kind of a little resource hub where we've got information and links on some of this stuff, but obviously it's available everywhere. Talking to your accountant, to your bank, to your insurance company and professional advisors generally, I think makes a lot of sense, because they're the ones who are basically responsible for keeping up with the specifics of what the federal and state and local governments are doing to try to support business owners.
All super helpful. So thank you to everyone who joined today. I don't want to end this town hall without thanking all of you. I know that you probably all have packed agendas, so I want to make sure that I thank each one of you for taking your time to share your experiences and expertise I'm also very grateful for the insights that you shared today. And again, a reminder that this is just the beginning. I hope that we continue to connect and continue to share insights among each other. And I also want to give a couple reminders to our viewers today. So if you have questions or would like to connect with other small businesses, please feel welcome to join us on sellercommunity.com. And also another reminder, as I mentioned in the beginning of the call, there's squareup.com. We also, similar to Adam, we have a resource hub with useful tips and guidance for our sellers. I think I can only end this with thanking everyone for joining today, and stay strong, stay connected, and stay safe. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jesse.
Bye-bye.